Fast Striker. I feel like a baseball announcer. But you know, I kind of want to hit this game with the James Bond treatment. Fast Striker. It's a game fast as a lightning shmup. Enlightening shmup. Anyways, I recently beat Fast Striker, and I find it respectable. Alright everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Majora, and I love me a good spaceship shooter. Do you? If so, be sure to strike and strike and strike and strike that subscribe button.
And strike 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 until you have victory.
So Fast Striker was developed by NG Dev Team and published by them originally for the Dreamcast and the Neo Geo in 2010. And this was at a time where Dreamcast homebrews were kind of the big thing. Stormwind had a big physical release. I think Ghost Blade was also available. And so Fast Striker was right up there with the rest of the homebrew spaceship shooter community. Very respectable. However, it kind of went on deaf ears. A lot of people were very critical of Fast Striker at the time, kind of thinking of it as ugly or bland. Compared to Stormwind, I could see why one might feel that way. However, I do think that after having played a lot of spaceship shooters at this point, some of which are dated and antiquated, I'm looking at you, Thundercross. I'm actually kind of happy with Fast Striker's presentation. It is a good looking game. It does sound good. And by modern standards, yeah, you could say that it's not like the most spectacular, but do you need it to be? Usually when it comes to spaceship shooters, we're looking at gameplay. And I also have a really interesting and telling interview with Eurogamer. The title of the article is Never Neglect the Niche. NG Dev Team on Developing for Dead Systems. Oof, I really hate the ad hominem about retro consoles. They're not dead. They're still very much alive. People play them. But anyways, NG Dev came up making homebrew cartridges for the Neo Geo. That was kind of their branding. And, you know, when they saw that they had some success with their first game, Last Hope, that's what led them to continue on their path to develop games like Fast Striker or Gunlord. Now, obviously, they feel kind of jaded, in a sense, about modern consoles because they were describing the Xbox marketplace as well as the PSN as platforming indie games of their caliber only if they had a hipster feel. And they weren't about that. They say, our philosophy is to create modernized old school games and to evolve them slowly. So I think you could take that several ways. You could say like, okay, well, you know, it's kind of an ignorant perspective. And yeah, you know, there is the irony of the fact that this game has now released on PS4 and PS Vita 8 years after their initial release. But I think there is a point too that a lot of games kind of rely heavily on kind of like the visual appeal or kind of like the cutesiness. But we're talking spaceship shooters here. Like, I think from a gameplay perspective, this game plays great. They also say, we already tried the iOS market with an iPhone version, but our games are too niche for such huge marketplaces. So I think that all things considered, there is like a learning experience here. You know, everything's worth a try as far as like where you're going to publish your content. You see what works for you. I get it. I mean, sometimes you need to lean into whatever the identity is. And for them, it's kind of the niche retro identity. Does that mean they can't release on PS4 and PS Vita? No, absolutely not. They absolutely can. But, you know, like, let them get their feet wet. Let's talk about the game. From a gameplay perspective, it's actually quite unique. Your spaceships have front and back fire. That's really useful because a lot of vertical spaceship shooters tend to not have backfire. And so, you'll have spaceships or monsters coming up behind you in the bottom of the screen, and you'll have no way to attack them. So I really appreciate that that's included here. There is a shield for when things get a bit too intense. You collect shields, so every time you respawn with about 2 shields. And also, sometimes they'll work automatically if you get hit and you didn't use it. You can't rely on that though, because sometimes your ship will just explode anyway. But sometimes it'll just get bounced around. You'll lose your multiplier. As far as the speed of the ship, this is actually another interesting mechanic. So, while you're firing, your spaceship is going slower than if you weren't. So, there are a couple obstacles on screen that you need to be able to navigate around and know when to fire and when not to. It's all part of mastering the game and the systems involved, and I'd say it's very much approachable. Fast Striker on PS4 has 4 difficulty modes. They added one called Omake. According to G Show, Omake means something thrown in with a purchase. It's an extra, a free gift. So be thankful. You got an extra mode here, except it's really hard. Omake is basically a souped up version of Mania difficulty, where the combat's a little bit different. You actually charge up kind of a laser beam. It's really cool. I kind of wish that they had this feature in the novice and original difficulties. You build up chains, and you can lose your chain by not firing fast enough. You really got to work your way up to Mania and Omake, though, through the other 2 difficulties. Novice mode lets you play through the game's first 5 stages, and then you get a thanks for playing, try the original mode, and original gives you the full game with the 6 stages and a final boss. I found novice mode a good way of kind of learning the game's systems in order to become equipped to play original. It took me 3 tries, but I was able to beat original mode up to the very last life on my very last credit. It wasn't easy. Some of these final bosses are actually kind of a pain, but I like the challenge nonetheless. And also, knowing how to use your shields to optimize your run and also encounters with these bosses is I don't know, it's a learning experience. So despite my fondness for Fast Striker, I do have critiques. I call them critiques, not criticisms, because I don't hold it against the game. I just kind of look at it as an opportunity for the company to kind of improve their product. So I think in terms of difficulty, this is kind of a nuisance in that you have 4 ships, but each one is associated with a different difficulty. I would have liked to have ship selection. I don't see why that wouldn't be a thing. It seems like kind of a standard for the genre. And also, with novice mode, I think the main ship is weaker than the one in original. The original one has missiles that come out of it when you're in auto fire. So, I don't know. That's a nitpick, maybe, but also kind of, I don't know. It feels like it's something that should be there. Another thing that's kind of deceptive is that okay, you do have the 2 modes of fire, front and back. And according to the how to play instruction that starts before you play the game, each one of those modes has 2 different types of fire. What's deceptive about this is that they're both allocated to the same button. So in order to activate the first mode of fire, you need to be pressing the button. You can't hold down on it for auto fire. Now, the game only uses 3 buttons as it is for your shield, your fire, and backfire. So I don't see why you couldn't have just included a different button configuration in order to accommodate those different types of fire. The last thing is that the game does tout itself on a unique scoring system, which I admit is kind of fun. You get up to like 1,000 multiplier by collecting a bunch of these collectibles on screen, and then there's secrets in each level, and if you get the secrets you get this like little weird Teletubby looking guy that, you know, gives you more multiplier. It's just that it never really gets put to good use. There's no online leaderboards. There's no compare with your friends. The game is kind of basic by today's standards. I'll admit. I mean, it's 2018. This game came out. Like, you know, I've got like arcade archive games that let me upload my score to a universal global leaderboard. So, I mean, even if it was just something like comparing with your friends, like, it's what it is. Or, you know, if you associated that with trophies, because the game is on PS4, there were no trophies associated with your score. So, I don't know. Nitpick, maybe, but also a standard. All that being said, I do appreciate Fast Striker. It's approachable. It's a spaceship shooter that's very much beatable and playable and learnable. Like, I really liked it. I hope you give it a shot. A literal shot and a strike. I hope you give it a strike, a hard strike, and I don't know, just, you know, see if it's right for you. It's definitely worth adding to the collection, and a good fast strike. I don't know. I got nothing. Fast Striker. I'll end on that. How about that? All right. Fast Striker. It's a game fast as a lightning shmup. Enlightening shmup.